Hey everybody, Allan here. Today we're going to talk about inflection points. An inflection point, quite simply, is an opportunity or a choice in your life that will literally direct you down a different path. Watch as this conversation unfolds with Jen, where an inflection point is presented and how it influences in the adoption of her son.
I am incredibly close to my son, and we've had this amazing bond. In fact, when I made the decision to adopt, I saw a gold cord come down like this, and I said, "Oh, that's the baby choosing me to be its mother." And then poof, it went away. I'm like, "What? What was that?" And so it just kind of started me on this journey of exploring what that was, and nature versus nurture, and how do we become a family? That was a
So,
really, really amazing experience.
yeah, so when I looked at your chart and then I looked at the birthday, I don't have your son's chart, but when I looked at your son's birthday, he is square, he's smack dab on the Pisces Aries cusp.
Yeah.
So Piscean energy is water energy. Obviously, the Aries energy, which is the first sign of the zodiac, is fire energy. When you sit perfectly on the cusp, you're a blend or a harmonization of those two energies, and that would define his ego or his personality, his sun sign. When you look at your chart, you're Scorpio, which is a water sign, but you happen to have your intellect, which is your thinking mind, is sitting in Sagittarius, which is fire, and your rising sign, which is your first impression. It's also your business demeanor, and it's what we would call kind of face of the individual. It's how you present yourself to the world, is sitting in Aries. So when you take it all together, you may be a water sign, but you have a ton of fire in your chart. It brings you energetically very close to the energy of somebody who's born on the Pisces Aries cusp.
Oh, I love that.
When I first saw the birthday and then I saw your cusp, I said, oh, these two are going to get along wonderfully.
Oh, good.
And I would argue that that bond that you share with him will strengthen as you guys get older. As you grow together, you'll grow closer. From an energetic standpoint, the way your mind works and how you approach the world will automatically connect with his default way of being.
Oh, good.
And if I had the rest of his chart, I could give you a great deal of specificity around it. But on a general basis, it's a really nice connection.
Good.
It's
Good.
great. It's great. The fact that he's adopted, obviously, it's going to add a couple wrinkles into it. But when we think about what the adoption is, you've adopted kind of the physical, you've adopted a child. The soul's energy is what we're speaking of here. And that soul, I love the story, the idea, the visual of indication in your mind that you're adopting the right person, because that would be type of a mystical or a soul's intention of bringing to your awareness that this is the right path.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah. And that wasn't the first experience either, because before that, there was, I had gone through pictures before meeting his birth mother, and I saw pictures of her family, and there was literally a lightning bolt that hit my heart. I said, yes, this is it. This is it. And it was of another child of hers. And I'm like, I want that kid. She's like, well, that's not available. He's already born and he's already with a family. I'm like, no, I want that kid. And when my son was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months old, he looked exactly like that child. And I took a picture side by side of him with the picture, and they look identical. So there was just something in my remembering where I knew it was him.
I love Jen's enthusiasm by which she tells the story and the genuine love that she has certainly for her son. I also love how apparent it was that she was reaching that inflection point and how the intentionality, which is the spiritual messaging, was so abundantly clear. I can share that most of you watching this video will likely have many inflection points throughout your life, and yet at the same time, you're not going to know so easily that an inflection point is unfolding. So the most common inflection points would be marriage, moving, and medical. I call them the 3 M's. And marriage is really anything around the relationship space. Moving deals with moving your city or certainly moving a job, like a notable change. And then the medical is illness and accidents. There are going to be all sorts of indications that come into your space that are triggering your intuition and various instincts that you have that are effectively trying to guide you down the proper choices around those inflection points. And if those choices are made properly, your soul will realize the most expedient path of growth and evolution as intended for this incarnation. And keep in mind that prior to the incarnation, your soul actually did a life preview, and the life preview showed those various inflection points, and there were things that were given to your soul in advance that were then available within your body and moving up into your mind that would effectively be drawn upon when the inflection point was reached. So people say, I've had a deja vu, or I'm hearing a song and for some bizarre reason, that song is remarkably familiar. I smell a fragrance that it feels like I've always known that fragrance, and yet I don't know how I could have. The examples run on so many different levels, and if you're really switched on and tapped in to your spiritual intention, they're more than just some instinct. They're indications of the choices that need to be made that will move you down the right path. And, I would share that there's probably a lot of value in taking a look at some of the big inflection points of your life. And especially if you have, even if there's regret or maybe second guessing that went into it, just reflect back on it. And not just the decision that was made, but think about all the indications and intuition that was around you. And keep in mind that there would be some people in your life that were going to try to guide you down a path because they may have been projecting into your world what they thought was best for you. And then there would have been your essence or your true self or your intuition or your gut instinct, whatever you want to call it. There would have been something inside of you that would have been calling you down a different path, right? So it's not always so direct and straightforward. And the people that may be thinking what's in our best intention may actually not have our best intention understood. And so if you reflect back on some of your own inflection points, maybe you chose right, or maybe you really didn't. And the clearest indication is regret. And think through the things that you still regret and understand that you're still growing and that you're still evolving, even if the ideal inflection point wasn't chosen. And yet at the same time, there's always opportunities to go ahead and correct some of these lessons and then to move into a state of acceptance around whatever choice it was that you made. So once again, we look at Jen, we see how deliberate and how straightforward her examples were. We all have the ability to tap into our spiritual intention and make those kind of choices when these inflection points arise and move us down the right path. Love and light as always, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I'm sure we'll speak to you more again soon.